So we were actually,
Yeah, no, go. It's cool. So we're actually live now.
And yep, but we're recording now. We were live before because we have 7 viewers.
Correct. Yeah. Before we hit the record button, it's what we call off the record, and that's the other really interesting thing about Blab is that if you want to start to say something that you don't want to have recorded, you can actually pause the recording, keep on talking, and then restart the recording. So if you want to say something about somebody and you don't want it on the record, then.
Huh.
Okay. So and the other thing too, like with the audio, I'm going to obviously clean this up for my audio podcast anyway, which will go live on Sunday, and I'll probably ask you some questions about podcasting along the way too. That what seem to be the best days to publish. So anyway, welcome to episode 22 of the Ecourse Domination Podcast, and the very, very first video interview that I have performed for this podcast. I'm very, very excited to have, and I'm going to let Scott introduce himself because he's got an amazing title. But I've got Scott Paton with me. He is a prolific online course creator. He's got many, many courses. He co-creates courses, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, is partnering up with other people, why you should do it, what you should consider when you're doing it, and other problems that you may encounter along the way. So with that being said, Scott, I'm going to hand over to you to introduce yourself with your amazing title and just give people some background. From those of us who don't know you that well, can you just give a little bit of background about yourself?
Sure. Well, first of all, let me say, Tim, I'm just delighted to be on here with you. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm really excited what the next hour or so is going to bring. So I'm Scott Paton. I'm the Dean of Blogonomics and Podology, and I've been teaching people how to podcast and really blog for pretty much 10 years. And podcasting officially as a word, I think in 2004, it showed up. In 2005, the spring of 2005, I had my first podcast up. And I'd like to say, I was just cutting edge and really wanted to, get into this new thing called podcasting. The truth of the matter is it was the last thing I wanted to have anything to do with. I was working for the Internet Marketing Center. I managed a group of 25 mentors and coaches. And at the time, the company was doing $28 million and they had 150 employees. So it was just booming and it was just going great. And I had spent 3 months trying to figure out how to blog. And I'd get online and I'd do all my searches and I'd find all these articles, and they all said the same thing. Blogging is really easy. All you have to do is... And the whole rest of the article might as well have been in Japanese because I didn't have a clue what they were talking about. And I was very, very frustrated. And finally, just before Christmas, I broke the code. And I thought, I now know how to make a post on a podcast. And if what I'm hearing is right, this is 2004, if I put a page up on my site and then I blog about it, my site will probably shoot to the top, or that page. And the page didn't exist before. So I went and I followed that. And as soon as I pushed the publish button or the post, I went on a 10-day cruise. And I never checked the internet. So I don't know if it was day 1, day 2, day 9, day 10. All I know is I got back to work, and there my 2 pages for 2 different keywords were number 1. And this totally revolutionized how we taught internet marketing. Because we were saying, it'll take 3 months, take 6 months, that sort of thing. And here it was, a brand new page, number 1 in Google in 10 days or less. So I printed the 2 pages out, ran to my boss's office, showed him the paper, and he went, yeah, good, Scott, thanks. I was devastated. What I didn't know was he didn't believe me. He thought I had photoshopped my result to the top. And as soon as I left, he got on, he goes, oh, that's right. It wasn't until we had a beer 3 months together 3 months later that he told me that story, right? And that would have been the end of it. I would have been known as the Dean of Blogonomics for the rest of my life, except that, unfortunately, the president died. He was 35 years old, just finished a $5 million house in San Diego. He'd been married 2 years. He liked Ferraris. He belonged to a Ferrari club. They rented a race course. And unfortunately, he ran into a wall, died instantaneously. It was awful. And the company thought they were so closely known, like his name was the company as far as everyone was concerned. They thought if he's gone, they're going to think the company's gone. We got to do something. So they decided to do boot camps, and they went to England, and they went to Sydney, Australia, and they went to New York and LA and Orlando and Atlanta, and they went Vancouver, Toronto, all over the place, putting on 3-day boot camps. And they had somebody that they were going to ask to do the Saturday night part. Basically, the new president was going to do all day Saturday, all day Sunday, but Saturday night they wanted somebody else. And I happened to have given a small presentation to my group, and they liked the way I did it. And they said, you know what, you do the Saturday night 2 hours. And I thought, 2 hours on blogging is, basically they get there at 7 a.m. They listen to this guy who's not really that exciting for 9 hours. Then they have a huge dinner, and then they come back at 8 o'clock at night. And what are they going to do? Fall asleep. So I thought, I can't talk about blogging for 2 hours. And the weird thing about this whole thing is that they didn't talk. You would think if you were going to take some guy that was sort of this coworker in the other cubicle, you would talk to him about what he's going to talk about. No, they had no idea what I was going to say. And I never occurred to me to go to them and say, you know what, I think I should do this. I just did it, right? Fortunately, it worked, or I probably would have been, dumped in Sydney, Australia, never seen, in the outback, never seen again. And I thought, well, I need to do something else. So what? And I'd heard about podcasting. I thought, it took me 3 months to learn blogging. Is it going to take me 3 months to learn podcasting? So I opened up some article, found, you do this, you do this, you do this. So I did that. And the next thing you know, I'm downloading a podcast onto my computer that I had just uploaded 2 minutes earlier. I was like, well, that was easy, right? Why is this blogging? Why was it so hard? I don't know. Once you crack it, it's just like, oh, that's easy. But until you do, it can be really, really frustrating. So I did an hour on blogging, an hour on podcasting, and that's kind of how I made my name as the Dean of Blogonomics and Podology.
Awesome. That's fantastic news. And excuse me. Just to let people know how this Blab is going to run. We're just going to do a straight interview style for the actual podcast side of things, but please feel free to enter a question into the sidebar there. So if you put in a /Q and then what you want to ask, and then we can obviously take that as long as it's on topic, then we will include that into the questions that we're going to ask Scott. At the end, depending on time, I will open up a seat if somebody wants to then pop in, and we can just have a general discussion. But just to keep things a little bit orderly and that we can get through some material, we'll just do this interview style.
Unlike when Mark and I, hi Mark, did ours, and we unwittingly added some people. I unwittingly added some people who took over our blab, which we loved because it was great information. But I totally understand where you're coming from. And we've got some great people joining us who I think I'd love to hear their opinions too. So awesome.
Well, absolutely. I see Bob Marks in the audience, and once again, I'm a big fan of Bob. So hi Bob, You got me going with you transformed the way that I do promotional videos, and also the way I create my slide decks for my courses. So you've had a major impact in my course creation. So welcome, and I'm thrilled to have you here on the podcast. And obviously Mark Timberlake, once again, he's transformed the way that I do social media marketing. So there's some top names here.
Yeah. Okay. Hi Joe, and hi Ryan. Glad to have you aboard.
Yes. Hi Ryan and Joe as well. And once again, if you want to share on the left-hand side, you can tell a little bird that we're on air. And if you want to send us some props, because they used to be called fields, but maybe there was some legal implication about if you felt up the wrong person, so they changed the name to props. That would be lovely as well. Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes of why we've got you here. How many Udemy courses do you have?
It's around the 12 to 15 range. I have 2 courses that are in the review stage right now. And then I have 2 courses that I'm just finishing up. So I think I have 12 or 14 that are live. and I have 2 more that hopefully by the end of the week will be live, and then I have 2 or 3 or 4 that are in the process, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Cool. And out of that, there's actually a number outside of like the podcasting stuff that you've done, and stay to the end, folks, because right at the end we are going to give some coupons for some special pricing and that sort of stuff. Both of us will give some cheap courses away.
Some expensive courses away for cheap.
That's right. Correct. Some extremely expensive and worthwhile courses away at a bargain price, because that's the way that Udemy works. But anyway, but a number of those courses you've actually co-produced with other people, and this is something that I am now looking at going into as well, is because I've had a number of people come to me saying, I'd love to do an online course, but look, I've either got no time, no technology, no patience, I've got a horrible voice, I've got a face for radio, so do I, but that doesn't stop me. But so there's definitely a market there to help people get their knowledge and expertise out into a course framework for them and share the cost. So that's what we want to sort of talk about in this interview. There must be a lot of things that you have to consider before you go down this path, as far as profit split, roles and responsibility, legalities. Like, what happens if they just one day say, I don't want to be a partner with you anymore and I want 100%. So, Scott, let's look at the steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, as to how you establish yourself into this area of co-creating courses and all that involves.
Well, Jonathan Levy was on a hangout with Mark and I and a few other people, and he's very lawyer-oriented and very technical-oriented and a total control freak. And that's not me saying it, I'm quoting him. And so he has all of what you said, like, figured out. My understanding of American copyright law is the person that actually produces, not necessarily the person that's on, actually owns the copyright. And so you have to be really careful when you're using freelancers or outsourcers to do things like edit your video, because actually they own it.
Wow.
Okay. But I think and I'm not a lawyer, so don't take my word for this is all total rumor. But the way I look at it is, if I control the Udemy account, I control the courses. And I'm not that lawyery type of person. And maybe if I did a course with somebody and we were making $100,000 off of the course, we would sit down and we would have to sit down and figure out something, because what happens if one of us dies? Is that part of my estate, part of their estate? How does that all work, right? And but I don't do any of that. What happened with me was I went and I consulted with the app developer who made like the Starbucks app, and because they wanted to do some podcasting. So I went, and Earl was the marketing manager, asked me to come in, talk to his team, and I did for 2 hours. And at the end of it, Earl is a very, very exciting guy, and he's very excited, and it's just infectious, and I should have known better. But he said, Scott, you need to do a video course on podcasting. And I had a book and I had other stuff, but not a video course. So I said, all right, I'll do that. And then I started looking into Udemy. Now, when you look at Udemy the first time and you have no clue how it works, it looks like a huge gold mine. So I looked, and there was like, this guy did a podcast and he had like 2,300 students and they paid $77. So 2,300, I said, holy smokes, And then, so I didn't know any better. So I had some clients that I've been working with for 10 years, with an ex-girlfriend. And I started telling them, like, I found this Udemy thing and look at this. And I would show them, a relationship course. And there was like 3,000 people and they paid $150. And we were like going, wow. So we all just sort of jumped in and started creating these courses because these were people that I knew. I wanted, if I was going to be successful with Udemy and I knew they were experts in their field and I'd worked with them or been with them or I knew them really well, why wouldn't I share that? And I just said, you know what? I'll do all you have to do is show up. I'll videotape everything and we'll just split it 50-50 nice and easy. And so and then of course, so at that point, I had like 3 or 4 people that before my first course is even done, 3 or 4 people that wanted courses on Udemy. And I'm going, okay, if I'm going to do courses with other people on a platform I have no clue what I'm doing on, and I have no clue how the system works, and I have no clue about anything except, wow, 3,000 people, $77. I think that's pretty good. I should figure it out. So the first thing I did was my own course, so that I would go through all the trials and errors and the problems and, you know, what do you have to do to get reviewed and approved and all that sort of stuff. And so that's what I did. And that was my Power Podcasting course. And I learned a ton. I made all of my mistakes on my own so that I didn't have to sort of, because when you're working with another person, it's kind of like, well, Tim, you know, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And then, of course, you don't check your email for 4 days, and it's 4 days later, and I'm going away for the weekend. And so next thing you know, it takes like a month for any sort of decision to be made. And so I just said, like, I'm just going to do it. So I did it, put up my course, and then I started I figured if you're going to immerse yourself in something, you need to educate yourself. So I found as many Udemy courses on how to be successful on Udemy as I could. And I joined the Facebook groups that I could find. And then I quickly realized that they're the Walmart of video training. You know, half those guys, if not more, were free, and the rest were $10. And there was 4 people that paid $77. And that's kind of the way it is. And when you get that $77 sale, it's like, yeah. And the next day, when the person figures out how the system is, asks for a refund and buys it for $10, it's like, oh, we all go through that, right? So once I had figured that out, I had to go back to them and say, listen, this is not just, you know, a whole bunch of people paying $77 or $299 for a course. This is the way the process works. And then from there, it's like, do you want to continue or not want to continue? They all did, because to me, there's more to Udemy, or there's a lot more to Udemy than just putting out a course. If you want to put out one course, and you think you're going to make enough money to live off of that course, it's possible, but highly unlikely, right? There's 15,000 instructors or whatever. I'm sure you could point to 5 or 10 or 20 or maybe even 100 that just put one course up on some topic and had, you know, a nice monthly income coming in. But the majority of us, that's not going to be the case.
I think this is the thing too, and that's why, as we mentioned in our other hangout just the other day about third-party platforms and everything else. My feeling with Udemy, look, I love Udemy. I think I said it's a great platform. You'd be leaving money on the table if you didn't put your courses there. But what concerns me is that there are people out there who have got hosting their own courses, making a lot of money. I saw something on Pat Flynn's blog not so long ago where somebody made over $300,000 or something launching one course, but they go through a whole like there's a pre-launch and there's this and there's that, and obviously this guy, he had a list, and this came back to what you mentioned in that hangout about, you know, if you've got a list, then you should be marketing to your own site and not pushing them over to Udemy. But so you've got these people making one course and cleaning up, and then you've got Udemy,
everybody else.
Yeah, where you're making 12 courses, 15 courses, 20 courses, and that just to me becomes a maintenance headache. Like, you know, when you're looking forward and saying, I've got to maintain these courses, and if things change, that's just no. I think we say there seems to be this. Oh well. Udemy's got 8 million or 7 million students, so we've just got to cop it and suck it if we want to be part of that. And yeah, if you want to be part of that, you do have to cop it and suck it. But I think you do have to look at other ways. And quite frankly, what I'm looking at, what I've been thinking about since that hangout, because that hangout got me thinking, is that I'm going to sort of put what we call minimum viable products up onto Udemy. So they're still going to be a good product, but then I'm not going to keep on updating the Udemy courses as much as my other on my other site. So my other site is going to have a more robust, a more complete, a more updated course than Udemy. And there'll be other courses I'm introducing, done for you services and consulting and coaching that you can bundle on other sites that you can't bundle at Udemy. So I hear what you're saying. So to get it to build up to a residual income, to be making money on Udemy, you've got to have multiple courses, and most of your money is going to, well, probably not most, like I'm getting more money from Udemy organic sales rather than cross promoting, but then I'm still slowly building my my stable of courses, so to speak, and I'm just sort of between two ways. I was in the process of transcribing my last course into a Kindle book and going there, but I think I might put that on the back burner and just get my next course. I've got about 4 or 5 courses in the wing, so I might just do that. But so the thing is that if you're going to be creating a residual income on Udemy, you've got to have multiple courses, and you've got to be prepared to be part of the affiliate programs and the promotions and everything else to have them hook you into their promotions.
The only reason that you want to be on Udemy is because it's a marketplace. There's 7 million students, let's say, in around there. There could be 500,000 freeloaders. There could be 50,000 freeloaders. I don't know. I mean, you put a free coupon up on the Facebook Udemy Studios thing, and you automatically get 800 or 900 students that are free. And they're almost all from India or Pakistan, and you have that part of it looked after, right? So, but the truth of the matter is that Udemy is a very, very good marketplace. Amazon is a very, very good marketplace. Fiverr is a very, very good marketplace. If you don't need somebody to sell your product, you don't necessarily want to go to Udemy. Now, I wouldn't say you don't, but you really need to think about it. If you've got 100,000 people on your list and you can sell them a $50 course compared to a $10 course on Udemy, why would you do that, right? You know, I have one of my clients has 30,000 people on his list. He's in alternative health, and we put a couple courses up on Udemy, and it's like, I haven't promoted or haven't done anything with his courses like I have with other topic areas, and I've been sort of like wondering why. And then I think, the reason why is he has 30,000 people on his list. Why would I do a mailing with him and his list to a course on Udemy where, they turn around, get a refund and buy for $10 or something like that, right? Like, doesn't make sense. The third parties that are out there are very integrated with Udemy in that they have a lot of push one button. They take the Udemy course you've made and they move it onto their platform. So we're looking at that. And one of the reasons, just to get this out, that we're looking at it is he has a product that's industrial hemp oil. It doesn't get you high or anything else like that. And it's has a lot of good stuff in it, but it's kind of in a bit of a gray area, and they're taking a lot of time to decide if they want to approve the course or not. So as they're dragging their feet, we're thinking about this and we're saying, maybe this is the way to use Udemy. Put the course up on Udemy, do a one punch, take it over to some other place, put it up on his site and just promote it through his site. Now, having said that, would we never have any courses for him? Yes, we would. They would be like you had said, that I don't like to use the minimum requirements or anything else. We would put together a good 1 hour, like my strategy is a good 1 hour course that gets onto the topic, as task or project oriented as you can be. I saw one instructor and listened to him, and I thought he was absolutely brilliant. He does Ruby on Rails or something, right? And it's just like, I do one course, takes an hour to show you how to make a form, takes an hour to show you how to do this, takes an hour how to and he says, I got 30 of them. So what happens is the Ruby on Rails guys, and it's not Ruby on Rails, but I'll use them because that's techie enough. They go, oh man, I don't know how to make that thing that goes like this. Wow, Joe's course does it. Oh, cool. $10, $50, whatever. I'm doing it great. Now I know how to do it. Wow, saved me like weeks. So that's the way I look at the courses, right? Like if you've got like my podcasting course, now I'm doing my own courses on podcasting, and I'm doing with co-instructors, and I'm looking for co-instructors that have very specific skill sets. One, for example, coaches podcasting, people that want to be podcasters. I don't, and I don't want to, but I thought, oh, you know what? I should. Like, not me, but somebody should for all these people. So I talked to him, and we put a little lecture together, popped it on my Power Podcasters. As I'm talking with him, I thought, you know what? I really like you. You're really good. You did another course on Udemy with some other guy, so probably you might not going to want to work with me because you're working with him. Turns out that was a bad experience. I didn't know. And I said, well, what I'd really like to do is, how do you grow your podcasts? And the reason I got in touch with him is in Facebook, he put this little funnel together. And I thought, oh, that looks cool. And I just followed it. At the end, I had this PDF, and I thought, oh, this is great stuff. I really like what he's doing, right? He's my competition, I guess, right? But we're doing totally different things. So he's not. So I got him in, and it said, okay, it's an hour, because I say an hour and nobody can shut up. So it's going to be an hour and a half, but they don't have to know that, right? We do an outline. So this is the process. What's the topic? In this case, it was how to grow your audience quickly and easily, but there's only one strategy we're talking about. There could be a whole bunch of strategies for growing your audience, but we're only going to talk about one. And so that's what we did. And so here's the beginning, here's the outline, here's the first thing. Now here's what we talk about this, and we basically did a curriculum. He had it in front of him. I had it in front of me. He's in Moncton, New Brunswick, I think it is, or Nova Scotia. It's in the Maritimes. Basically, it's as far from me in Canada as you can get. And we did a hangout, and then we just, and it took us 2 hours to do the hour and a half worth of material, and he was done. So all he had to do was work on the outline and show up. I said, I'll do all the Udemy stuff, because he wasn't interested in it and didn't care and didn't know how. The other guy did it all for him, and he had no interest, right? So then I took the video, I sent it to my video editor, who's a better video editor than me, and she chopped it all up, and then she uploaded it, because we would say, this is lecture 2, right? And then we would start. And so she would know that was lecture 2, and that was the end of lecture 2, and then she would upload it. I would go and make the descriptions, do the summary, and was like approved immediately, because I know the quality of audio and the quality of presentation and the quality of the course that Udemy and what they're looking for, and the pictures or the course images, all that sort of stuff. So he never had to figure out or worry about any of that stuff. My editor knew how to edit it. So he took an hour and a half out of his time, maybe 2 hours, because he put together the outline. I hosted it. We talked about it. I knew just as much as him, but we had this conversational thing going on, and then it was done. So we made a few $100. It's been out a month. And I talked to him, and I said, the strategy that I want with these individuals that I'm working with is a series. So what's the next one? And we talked to him. We agreed on it. He's putting out the outline now. We're going to start working on it. And his comment to me that really struck me was, we made a couple $100 each, but really, how much time did I spend? Like a couple $100 a month for spending 3 hours 1 month. Like, what's wrong with that, right? And I really think that Udemy is going to go from 7 million to 70 million. So my goal is to be the dean of logonomics and podology at Udemy, where you want to know something about podcasting, there are all these courses, and nobody else is going to bother with anybody else's course. Oh, they will, but they're going to come back to mine, because we not only have the width, we have the depth, right? And so that was the plan. I call it the irresistible offer. If someone says to you, hey, you're an expert on this field, I'm going to do a Google Hangout with you for like an hour, maybe twice. All you got to do is give me a little outline on this topic so that I can put together a curriculum, and then you approve the curriculum, and you watch it afterwards to make sure that, something isn't wrong that one of us said. who would say no to that? And then it's worth $200 or $300 a month for the rest of your life, maybe.
This is one thing that I heard on another, I don't know if it was a podcast or a course, saying that if you're partnering with somebody, Udemy won't just let you stick somebody in as a co-course creator unless there is actually proof that they contributed. Is that right? Does Udemy have to see?
You this way, there's no way you should do a course with somebody unless you're both contributing. Okay, so there are people that have courses and they just say, hey, I want to take my course, put it on Udemy. Well, it's kind of hard for me to be 50-50 on that when it's, obviously their course, right? So there are courses that I've done with someone where they're the person on the screen the whole time. But if you were to ask them, I'm just as involved in the creation of the course as they are. They happen to be the expert and they happen to be the front person. And that's true, because in the process of creating the videos, I'm giving them constant feedback of how to improve and plus I help them create the whole outline in the course in and of itself. So I've never really had a problem with that. And I think
I suppose what I'm saying is, say if somebody comes to you and they say, I'm an expert in this field, I'll give you all the information, but I don't want anything else to do with it. I want you to prepare the presentation. I want you to present it for me. I'll write up the curriculum. I'll oversee it. I'll do everything else, but I don't like the sound of my voice, or I don't like to look at my face on camera, or I've got I've got the graphic skills of an ant. So I want you to do all that for me, but I still want to take 50%. And fair enough. Like if they're giving you,
you could negotiate the percentages, but that's not the issue here. The issue is doing it. I would say that one of the responsibilities of the instructors of a course is to answer student questions and support the students. So absolutely, yeah. That's a non-negotiable, right? If you're going to be doing the course, you have to do that. The next part of what you're talking about, I know quite a bit about internet marketing and building websites. So my answer to somebody who is an internet marketer, building website type guy would be different than somebody who is a car mechanic wanting to do a car mechanic course, or a salsa dancing course, or a pottery course, or something like that, because I don't know anything about it. So now I'm actually presenting myself as the expert in a field that I'm not an expert in. I can talk about a lot of different topics and sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I can't. Like, I've tried pottery. They're really bad. No. I've tried singing. Like, it's really bad. So I'm not teaching singing and pottery, right? I think also if somebody is not willing to embrace the YouTube generation that we're in, which is everybody, Periscope and blabbing, we're all on video 100% of the time. Even, in this drive down the street, there's cameras catching you going through red lights. It's just, I just kind of give them a no. It's like, we do this together, arm in arm. There's too many potential problems. Like 2 years from now, he wants to go in or she wants to go in another direction. They want to take their stuff and they don't want it on Udemy. Well, I spent all that time, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say, well, you're going to continue getting your money. I'm going to continue getting my money unless you want to figure out 5 years worth and pay me out or something, which is not likely going to happen. Now you got lawsuits and blah, blah, blah. No, thank you.
And I think that's the other reason why you've got to, like, even though you might start out friends, like a marriage, I've had a couple of those too. Like you might start out friends, but no, business is funny. Like I've actually been in business with friends, and we've had to dissolve the business before our friendship dissolved. And I think so that I think it's important that you get. It doesn't have to be like a $20,000 legal contract, because I've had those in the past, and the company still reneged on that. So legal contracts are only as good as the compliance of those involved. But I think,
you have to be really clear on the expectations and the roles and the goals. And to me, I want to be I would say the majority of the time, because I really only pick courses that I'm working with people in areas that I am interested in, right? Like I'm working with, to give you an example, I do a course with Marion, and Marion came over. She's an ex-girlfriend of mine. She got a transpersonal psychiatry type degree certificate, and found her true love, and her life from when she left me to now is like night and day. Like she's just got it all together. It's just wonderful, right? And we've been able to keep our friendship, which is very unusual for me. And but she wanted to do, so I told her about this. She wanted to do a relationship course for women. And I said, great. So we filmed it. And it was the second course that I ever did. And it's really probably the worst course that I've ever did. And I had nothing to do. I'm not on it at all. It's all her, right? So we've reviewed what's happened with that course. We've reviewed what we've learned. We've talked about different things and also the important thing is, what do we want? Like what she wants from doing this and what I want from doing this, and make sure we're all congruent. And we've had the experience. So, I mean, if you're just starting out, do a really bad course. It doesn't matter. Like just get it over with and then go and do a really good course. Because you learn so much by the doing. You can listen to us all day long, but until you put that camera in and then you realize, there's a light here that goes all the way around there. You got to do something about this light that's over here that's not working. And then you realize the light you got on this side is pointing in the wrong direction, so it's all in shadow. I mean, you figure all these things out, and then you get better and better and better, right? And what microphone you want to use. I'm using this one today, but I had a different one earlier in the day. Beauty.
I'm on this today.
And you're on, yeah. So, I mean, you play around with all of this stuff, and if you don't do it, you don't find out and ask the right questions and figure it out. So we sat down and we said, you know what, we're going to redo this course, and it's going to be her and I. She's got the outline, what she wants to talk about, and we aim for an hour. And the reason we aim for an hour is that's a reasonable length of time, in my opinion, for a course. My podcasting course is 7.5. Actually, it's 7.5 or 8 hours now. I didn't mean it to be that way. It just sort of happened. And those sort of things are going to happen. It's not a problem, except that it's 8.5 hours long. Who's going to watch it, right? So you want to do these courses, hour and a half, 2 hours. Then you want to add, every month or two, stuff like that, and engage your students. And that's kind of the way it works. So we're going to be doing a Google Hangout because I really like the way the screens shift back and forth. And we're going to discuss it. And we're just going to have here's one man, here's one woman. We're going to talk about this stuff. And who knows what's going to happen, because we'll have our outline, we'll have our notes, but she's going to say something that's going to trigger me, or I'm going to say something that's going to trigger her, and we're going to have an amazing course when we're done. And I think that that interaction and the two, it's the same with podcasting. Like I really have a hard time with a monologue. I probably would be fine if I did it 2 or 3 times, but I'm just like, I don't want to. I want to talk to Tim. That's why I shut up and I don't say stuff every once in a while, so he can talk, right? Because it's important.
Yeah, this is probably the way that I'm going to do all my future. Well, because I've got to do monologues at the moment because I can't find enough guests for my show, because I don't know whether my show is too niche. But so I've got to get on there and prattle, and I suppose I've always got something to say. What's your niche? Well, it's creating online courses is my niche. So I support
12,000 Udemy instructors that just can't wait to get on your show, Tim.
I keep on putting my hand up saying I want guests, and they never get back to me. I'm teaching them on Udemy.
I got to give you a little bit of coaching. Can I give you a little bit of coaching?
Absolutely.
Never, ever, ever ask anyone, ask a group of people for a volunteer. Okay. In New York, in the late 70s or 80s, this woman was raped and killed, and she was raped at least twice. And there was 1,000 people up in the apartments and everywhere else looking and watching. And so they said, how could you just watch and not do something? And they couldn't figure it out. So finally some psychologists or psychiatrists or whatever, they went in and they started interviewing people and they started testing. And what they discovered was everybody thought somebody else had called 911. They could not imagine that nobody had. So the takeaway from that is if you're in an emergency, doesn't matter what, any type of an emergency, you don't say, you say help, fire, whatever, get their attention. And then you say, you call 911 right now. You go get some water. And you just point to someone and direct. So if she'd have had that break between this first and second rapes, looked up, saw somebody and said, call 911 right now, they would have. But no one could conceive that they hadn't. So when you're asking for volunteers, and in some group, whether it's a forum or whatever, everyone's going, oh yeah, he's got lots of people. So here's the way I do it. I find people that are really interesting, that I really like, and someone like Mark Timberlake or Bob Marks come to mind. Both of them I've interviewed.
I've asked Bob, you're coming on my show, man.
Yeah. And you just send him a little message, say, really like this stuff that you're doing, really like this course that you're going. And I'm doing a blab, and it's going out every week to, thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I'm putting it on Twitter, putting it on my site and everything else. Would love to have you on my show. Be about half an hour. I mean, I lie like crazy. I'll tell you, okay? I know that when I get Mark on my show, he'll go for an hour and without even me saying anything more than hi, Mark, okay? So, but I won't tell him an hour because he'll think, oh man, if I'm on there for an hour, then I don't have time. But I'll just say, it's 20 minutes, half an hour, and he'll say, oh yeah, sure, no problem, right? And then I just tell him, make sure you don't have anything scheduled right after because we need to kind of debrief or whatever. And so then we just go and you end up with, and I think 30 minutes is what I aim for in my podcast to be serious for a second. And the reason that I aim for that was AOL did a study 10 years ago, and they found that people, so just imagine how much less time it is now, but people on electronic devices, in those days, computers, desktops, were interrupted on average every 20 minutes. So if you had your closing from minutes 22 to 30, chances are they were interrupted, gone, never heard it. So you want to get some of your advertising in the beginning and then tell people, come back for the stuff at the end because that's the way it was. I imagine it's probably closer to 10 minutes now. But the other side of that is the average commute in North America is 20 minutes to 40 minutes. So you can watch one show or two shows or listen to, but don't drive and watch. But
you can now.
do a podcast, right? I could just see, the DVD screen will be right on the driving thing, and we'll have our podcast and our blabs going directly into it, right?
It's hard.
Get your eyes on the road. No,
we've had some more people join as we've been talking. So I just want to repeat the way that we're actually doing this podcast is that we're doing interview style initially, but if you do want to ask a question, put a /Q, ask your question, and if it's on topic, we will include it into the interview. At the end, time permitting, we will open up a seat for anybody who wants to jump on, and we will also answer general questions. And right at the end, if you hang around, we will be offering some special deals on some very expensive courses. So
there's two questions. Can I answer them both quickly?
You can.
Have you used Camtasia to create an online course? Not Camtasia. I use ScreenFlow because I'm on a Mac. So the answer really is yes. And Tim already answered that. Yes, I didn't see that. Would you use Blab for an online course? Yes and no. I would not use it for the meat of the course. So the meat of the course to me is your introduction section and one or two sections afterwards, which are how to do whatever it is you're teaching. And then there's a conclusion section. So I have really three sections to a course. One is the beginning, one is the end, and one is the middle. And the middle, I like to have two parts too. It's just the way I am. Now, once I'm done that, I like to have another section. And that section is bonus lectures or there's different, let's just use bonus lectures. That's the easiest one, the one I just used. In there, I would use that for blab. I would put blabs in there for sure. I would say, you know what, if Tim and I are doing a blab, or I got two more people, because I think you would want to have I'm not sure if I could cut this all out into a nice look. I don't like the black that's down here. That's just me right now, and it's square. So I mean, it's another thing. It's widescreen on Udemy.
Just Scott, on the replay, you will, well, if you get the video like the MP4, it will actually just be the two of us, not the black.
Oh, okay, all right, perfect.
And then if it just drops to one, say if there's only one seat open, it's you and the whole square. So it does adjust on the MP3. I don't know if it adjusts on the replay here though.
Right. Okay, good. So what I have done, and Mark is the one that comes to mind right off the hop, is he was the first person I asked to talk about, I think it was Google Plus or Google Local or something, that I felt was relevant for podcasters. It would have been Google Plus communities. And so I had him on. We talked for half an hour. I put that video into my bonus section. It was longer than the 20 minutes Udemy wants, but it's okay because it's not the course, it's the bonus material, which is like blew my mind that they would even accept that, right? So that's what I would do, is I would say, this is what I'm doing, right? I'm approaching a bunch of different people to do podcasts, and the way I do my podcast is Hangout. Blabbing will be the new way that I do them. I'll be alternating between the two depending. And then I take that video, and if it's relevant, or I take parts of the video that's relevant to my Power Podcasting course, and I put it in there. I take other parts of it, and it ends up on YouTube. Like this is not automatically on YouTube. The Google Hangouts are automatically on YouTube, so that's great. And then I will take the audio out, and I will put it on my podcast. So basically, I get 3, and if I was smart, I would have someone transcribe it and have 4 modalities: reading, listening, watching. And then it's watched on 2 places: YouTube, which is like #1 video place in the whole world, and Udemy, where I want to give more support to my customers, my students. I think Udemy really takes puts a lot of value on adding stuff to your course on an ongoing basis. So that's my process for creating content for my course and creating content for my podcast and creating content for YouTube.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. I want to come back on to topic. There's just a couple more questions I want to fire past you. Translation. Do you have you had your courses translated?
I have my course in Spanish and in German.
Okay, so the process there, when we're talking about joint, like creating courses with other people, I don't speak German very well. Ich spreche Deutsch nur ein bisschen, yeah. So and Spanish and French and everything else is way out of my league. But
I know all the Spanish and German that I know.
So we come back to that question when I asked you, saying like somebody gives you a whole heap of content and says, put that into a course structure and present it for me. Is that the way that you go about getting your courses translated? You say, here's my course. How does it translate? Do they just do a voice over? No, you just caught me. You just made me look really bad, Tim, because what I said I don't want to do, I get other people to do. I have 2 Udemy instructors. One speaks German, one speaks Spanish. And I'm not telling you, we made the mistake, Mark and I, of saying who they were, and everyone tried to take them away. And so I just basically say, here's the course. I create a course, and I make them a co-instructor, and everything is on the course. And then they somehow figure out how to get the video down and do the closed captions and get it back up, or put the closed captions. I don't know how they do it. I have no clue. In fact, I want to actually sit down with both of them and do a course on how to do that, because I have no idea how they do it. And so they're not particularly fast because they've got all sorts of other things going on, but they did the course. And so you could say that, yeah, when you see the writing along the bottom, that's their contribution. When you see the Spanish translation, the descriptions, that's their, and you see, it also depends on where you're at, or like, because Udemy needs multilingual courses. They're desperate for them, right? I am desperate for someone who speaks Portuguese fluently and English fluently to do one of my, so there I'm asking, raise your hand if you know Portuguese and you want to work with me on translating courses, because I've got a whole bunch
that I want to translate into Portuguese and Spanish and German, but I have people working on those two. So yes, I just say to them, it's a 3-way split, or a 2-way split, depending on how many. And the other person has always said, well, yeah, of course, like, give them. It actually, unless they've changed it, it used to be Udemy 50, and then it was 16, 16, and 17, or 16, 17, and 17, I guess, to make 50%. It doesn't work out. You can't go point anything. So we had a big fight over who got the extra point, because I wanted to give it to the translator. The translator did not want it, and the other instructor wanted to give it to the translator. So I think we eventually gave it to the translator.
Okay, so basically the translation is closed caption. We're not getting other language voiceover and getting really messy there. No, they're not scripting audio.
They liked the sound of my voice, and they also both said that most people are not. They may not be fluent in English, but they understand. So they had a totally different look at it than me. I thought, blah, 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 in another language. And they were like, no. Your excitement, everything comes through on your tone, which when you think about it, our words are a small percentage of our communication. Our tone, our excitement, our body language are a lot more of it. So they wanted to keep that. And they said most people, and this is their group, so they could be totally wrong, but I went with what they said, is most people understand a little bit of English or a lot of English. And so what the text does is it just reinforces what they thought you said, as opposed to them reading the whole thing, which is what I thought they would do, which is what I do when I'm watching closed caption, because I have no clue what anybody is saying in another language, right? Unless it's French, and even then it's not very good. So that's the problem of living in a place like North America, where everybody speaks this one language, as opposed to Europe, where you've got all this exposure to. I wish I had lived, in Europe for 5 years and I picked up all these different languages, but I didn't. So that's the way we work it. And would it have been smarter just to hire somebody? And you could make that argument. I would say no, because I get a question in Spanish and German, and the translator says, well, they asked this, what's the answer? And I give the translator the answer, and they put it in. And I did go in and I used Google Translate to find out what the question was, and then I gave an answer, used Google Translate. I put the answer in, and they got immediate feedback from my translator. Scott, when you give an answer, send it to me. Don't use Google Translate, right? So I guess you could sort of understand, but it was like grade 1 Spanish and wasn't very professional.
No, I like that. I like that way, because then having the translator, they've got skin in the game. They've got interest in the course. They're going to be part of it, and obviously they're getting a percentage. So
yes,
it's in their best interest to make everybody happy. The final question I want to ask in regard to this is that, do you do any market research, like any viability studies, before you start partnering up with other people on all these different topics? Or no? So say if somebody comes to you and says, I know how to make sourdough bread, Mark Timberlake. I've got no idea what sourdough bread is either, but I hear. Now,
it's a delicious bread. It is very good. I love sourdough bread.
Cool. So somebody says to you, I've got this really my grandmother's recipe, and blah, blah, I want to make a course on how to make sourdough bread. Now, do you go, awesome, wonderful, let's get the curriculum and get it pumping, or do you spend some time just doing some research and actually seeing whether there's actually a market?
No. And if you'd asked me about sourdough bread, I would have said good luck, and been totally wrong, because she's making a fortune. I think the way I see Udemy, there are certain areas that are really hot and do really good, and there are other areas that not so much, but I could be wrong. And so most of the time here's the sourdough bread thing. There's a bakery on every corner. Like, people love bread. It's a huge market. Now, will they learn to make their own sourdough bread? I don't know. If there's 5 billion people that love bread, I'm sure there's a couple, 100,000 that would like to do their own bread making. And that's kind of so that's kind of part of it, right? Like, relationship. Well, it's a massive industry. Weight loss, massive industry. Techie stuff, massive industry. So, scrapboarding or scrapbooking, massive industry. So, it's pretty hard not to, you can, if you have a course and there's no sales, that's a different problem than the industry that you're in. Like my relationship course, terrible sales, but so maybe that is not a great niche for Udemy today, but maybe it's a great niche for Udemy next month. Udemy knows how to market. And what happens in Marketing 101 is you start here at zero and you go along, and then the next thing you know, you have huge, huge growth, and then you plateau, and then you go down. So the trick is when you plateau, is do something so that you start another marketing curve. Well, it's not going to be long. Maybe it'll take 2 years. And the whole, I call it how to program Javlet applets on an Apache server using a Linux machine, in outer space at the space station, like super techie stuff that I think, in my opinion, they're very, very popular and very, very successful with, are going to plateau. And they've got joint venture capital money or whatever that's going to say, hey, dudes, you're plateauing. Like, that doesn't work with us. You need to grow. So at that point, they're going to be looking at the sourdough bread lady or the salsa dancing course that, the salsa dancing course doesn't do very much now. The sourdough lady does. And they're going to say, well, we're going to push that stuff because, and we know how to on Facebook and the targeting and everything else, because we need that extra growth. So there's working for today. There's also working for tomorrow. And the other side of that is if you do a sourdough bread one, then you do cinnamon bun bread one, and then you do blueberry muffin bun one, and then you do hamburger bun one, and all of a sudden you created this category in Udemy that's really easy for them to drive traffic to. So one's course is a massive, massive mistake. If you're going to do sushi, how to make sushi, you do an hour of how to make really good California rolls. And then you do another course, how to make BC rolls. They have them on our menu here, and I eat them. I like them. How do you make salmon sushi, and how do you make tuna sushi? And you have 5 or 10 of them, and you do your own bit to get people in, right? Because you need to have thousands of students for this whole thing to work, and lots of 5-star reviews or 4-star reviews. Then I think Udemy sort of says, whoa, look at all this stuff. It's a whole new market. We could bring all those people in, and then they'll learn about podcasting and this and that or whatever, salsa dancing or whatever else, right? We're bringing this whole new group of people in. So I think right now is a great time to look longer term and say, you know what? If I had 15 how to make cinnamon bun courses types out there, where am I going to be in 2 or 3 years? Now, you might be where you are now, and it could be a total flop, or you might have $5,000 or $10,000 coming in every month where you just, you sign into Udemy every couple of days and answer questions and sign out, and you're kind of done, right? I mean, who knows? It's just like, who knew Apple would be big in 1970, whatever it was they started? You don't know. But the other side of it is, like my podcasting co-instructor said, took 2 hours, Scott. Made me $100 the first month. If I do 10, that's $1,000 a month.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the way it works.
That's why you don't want to do a 7-hour course, folks like me, right? Because it takes a lot longer than 7 hours to make. But you make an hour. You have a really good course. Make an hour. The other thing is, let's just get into. You talked about the marketing part and what marketing research. This is marketing research. You do a course. I do a course on relationship. I sell $5 in 3 months. I do a course on podcasting. I sell $5,000 in 3 months. Now, what do? I do more podcasting courses. That's my market research. Well, how long did it take to do the 2 courses? Well, it took me 3 hours to do this course. Took me 3 hours to do that course. Not a lot of time. So let's say I pay myself $100 an hour or $500 an hour. It's $1,500 here, $1,500 here. That's really still not significant amount of money when you think about it, right? And it's only my time. It's not like I actually had to fork that money out. So you put a course up, and it doesn't really work that good. You put another course up, oh, that works really good. You spend time with that area. And then this course, maybe after a while, things change and it starts to pick up, well, then you spend a little more time on that area. And if you've got 5 different topic areas, you know pretty quickly which one's going to go. But I think you should go with what brought you. Podcasting is what brought me here. I do all of my courses are for podcasters. Even if you're not a podcaster, you could take the course and get a lot out of it. I'm a firm believer, and this is the last thing I want to say on this, you sharpen your tools. And if you've got a really sharp axe, it's the point of the axe that gets you into the tree to chop the tree down. So internet marketing is a sledgehammer. It's not going to work for you. Podcasting is, there's only, I think, 14 podcasting courses and 350 internet marketing courses or 4,000 internet marketing courses. So where are you going to be noticed? Where are you going to be able to create your tribe the easiest? Where are you going to have the least amount of competition? Well, it's going to be podcasting next week because all these people have been listening to this and I can see I'm creating huge, massive competition for myself. But, whatever it is that you're into, start there and then roll everything off of that.
I'm big and saying, like, going back to my training with Alex Jeffries, and I say this a lot because I think it's very important as course creators or even product creators, is one problem, one solution. Stay on target, stay focused. And if you work on the one problem, one solution per course or per product, then it's easy to stay within that 1 to 1.5 hour time frame and deliver really, really good, solid content that is focused. Because early day, like, and Udemy is onto this too now. In early days, people used to waffle, and there might be a 7-8 hour course, and it was waffle. And now keep on topic, get your information across, and get off camera. Just deliver. And as Johnny Burns said on a previous blab, if you can create a 3-minute course to show somebody to do something, that's ideal. Like, I don't know whether somebody would be happy to spend $99. Like, if somebody could teach me in 3 minutes how to generate $5,000 a month, I'd spend $99 on that. So it's just a matter of just cutting through, all that noise and delivering something. Scott, it's been absolutely wonderful having you on my very, very first Blab podcast. And I don't know this. No, this video podcasting is very different. I've had to brush my teeth, have a shave, and do my hair, and be very conscious about in my clothes and the shower. Yeah, everything. I couldn't jump on. But whereas before I could come back from gym and jump on the mic, and it wasn't a problem. Been absolutely great. How can people find out more about you?
Good question. Powerpodcasters.com is probably the easiest thing to remember. And if you go to Udemy, search on my name or search for Power Podcasting, and then you'll be able to go to my profile. And there's, I've got Facebook groups on podcasting. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, all those places. Would be delighted to connect with you. I've got an overwhelm going on Twitter, so it's not usually a good idea to tweet me any messages because it just gets lost in the volume of stuff that goes on there. I'm sure I don't know a quarter of what happens on my Twitter feed, but Facebook is a really good way, and powerpodcasters.com is another way. Scott@powerpodcasters.com. And yeah.
Now, you also, like as we said at the top of the show, you're also going to offer a couple of your very expensive courses for a great deal. And I can vouch for both of these courses because I'm a student in both, and they have helped me immensely in my very short, I think I've been going as a podcaster for 3 months. But podcasting is obviously, like, if you're an online instructor, it is a way to get out there to get your courses. Like, so if you are a topic expert, it's a way to get yourself in front of an audience very, very quickly, because there's about 250 billion blogs, but there's less than 300,000 podcasts.
Yes.
So you can really establish yourself and get yourself in front of an audience very quickly. So Scott said he's going to drop some links into the comments for the people who are on the Blab session now, and I'll also drop those links into the show notes. The show notes for this show isn't going to go onto my regular podcast channel until Sunday, but the links will be there, and the show will be found at ecoursedomination.com/22. I'll open up now for questions. I'll even open up this seat here. We've probably got 15. It depends on how much time Scott. I've actually got to get to. I've got to leave here in about 45 minutes, but I'm happy to hang around and have a chat. I'm also going to drop some links into the chat if I can work out how to cut and paste on this Mac. Like Scott was saying, who'd know 10 years ago that Apple was going to be big? Well, who would know 10 years ago that Tim Cooper would be sitting in front of a Mac? I'm a PC and Android dude, but my PC does not have the power to blab or do Hangouts. So
I just want to talk about the two courses. One is my basic power podcasting course, which is everything you need to know in order to get up and running. And I also give you access to my podcasting platform, which is free. And the course is free for anyone that's listening in. I wanted to give it as a gift to everybody. The second course that I did with Mark Mawhinney was on growing your audience. And the whole idea of that was making sure that you had really good guests and were a really good guest on other people's shows and podcasts. So what happens is you get that kind of Napoleon Hill rub, and some of that tribe that these people bring is going to stick with you and going to enjoy working with you as well. So I put that link in as well, and it's free. So for listeners and watchers of Tim's show, if that's not incentive for you to come and watch, I don't know what is. So
that's awesome. Thanks, Scott. I'm just doing some. I'm just trying to work out how to do this cut and paste. I found this funny looking key. I guess I can change this and then there we go. Actually, I might just start typing. I'm just going to put in the
down and then click on it and then go save link.
Okay. I just typing in the link for my website for anybody who wants to have a look at what all the free content there. And also have a link to my site with information about the podcast, and all the previous episodes are available, and you can also subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher and that sort of stuff. So, do we have any questions? Does anybody want to
use the command key?
Yeah, use the command key. Yeah, does anybody have any questions, or does anybody want to jump into a seat and talk about anything anything on topic or off topic?
Or we'll just pick somebody.
Yeah, is Mark Timberlake still in the house? Who's still here? Who we got here? Right, does anybody want to be famous? Get on the Ecourse Domination Aussie LinkedIn lady, Australia's most connected LinkedIn. That's welcome, Leanne. Got an Aussie. Got to love the Aussies because we walk around standing on our heads. Apparently, that never ceases to amaze me too. When I look at the globe and I think, how do we get a headache? And especially when I go down to Melbourne, that's even further south. And that's all right, Leanne. Thank you for joining. You go down to Melbourne and the globe goes even further, and you think, man, like that how does the blood not rush to your head when you're upside down at the bottom end of the world? It's crazy.
The Earth is flat. That's the answer.
That's it. I think like the globe is just a conspiracy theory, man.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think we've got any questions coming on, and nobody wants to jump in the hot seat for us. So, Scott, thank you once again. It's been a wealth of knowledge. It's been fantastic having you on my very first video blab podcast episode. So thank you once again.
Thanks for having me, Tim. I'm delighted to be here.